Welcome to the Coach and Coach podcast. Seem like I've been around the world and I'm back again, but we are back. Coach, we are rolling, man. What a great football day today, man. But this is the Coach and Coach podcast. I am your defensive coordinator. My defense got better this week. I didn't allow all of those running yards this week, Coach, and I was able. Coach, you looking kind of strange right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just looking up at some advanced statistics.
Yeah, kind of scared me. But welcome to the Coach and Coach podcast. I am your defensive coordinator. I did a better job this week. I stopped the run. I didn't allow the big play, and I was able to give it back to the offensive coordinator who made all the things happen today. This is the Coach and Coach podcast. All of those, if you're listening to us live on Facebook Live, go ahead and tell somebody that the Coach and Coach podcast is on. Share it with your friends. Share it on your page. Hit that like button. You can comment, talk to us. We'll talk back to you. For those that's following us on TikTok, make sure you hit that screen. Send us a gift. Talk to us. I promise I'm gonna do my best to try to talk back tonight. We're gonna do it right tonight. And if you miss this live, hopefully you don't miss a live. You shouldn't miss a live. But if you do miss a live, it will be available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. It's going to be available on I almost said Samsung, but it'll be available on Amazon or wherever you get your podcast. All you have to do is go to Coach and Coach Podcast, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification button so you won't miss an episode, and rate us. Rate us. Let us know how we doing. Coach, we said it 3 weeks ago. You got to get one, and Coach, we got the one.
Yeah, looking at it from a professional sports uh, set of terms, I think of it as like you're about to get your home field advantage back. You're going to play in the state of Mississippi for the next 4 weeks, at home for the next 3 weeks, but you went on the road. Like you went on the road for the first two games of that series. And most pro teams think like, hey, can I get one of them? Two of them would be great, but if I can get one of them and then get back home, I feel pretty good about my chances, and they were able to do that today. And the score doesn't reflect it necessarily, but I thought it was a pretty dominating fashion for the most part.
Yeah, we're going to dive all the way into the game. Like I had told you earlier, I felt like that it was some coaching decisions that kind of kept that game where it was. But man, there wasn't a time. It just seemed like Ole Miss, outside of those the big run that we gave up and the run after that, there was not a time during the game that I felt like Ole Miss was in trouble.
Now, I completely agree with you. I don't feel like I thought when I watched, and I know it's weird because there's a whole game to be played, but when I watched the coming out and saw Ole Miss's script, I thought, well, hey, they can run the football. That
Mm.
changed my mind on how the game was going to go. And then when I watched Oklahoma's script and they couldn't run it effectively, I thought, it even changed it further, and that kind of rang true all day. And then, you add in the fact that I thought Chambliss played pretty well in situations that he has struggled with, in my opinion, in the past. And I thought, that kind of summed your day up. I thought from the start, I kind of just had that feeling.
Were you shocked at how because Oklahoma and the announcers made sure we knew that Oklahoma's defense is the top defense, one of the top defenses in the nation. Um, I was more, I'm not going to say surprised. I was pleased that we didn't abandon the run in crucial moments. Lacey had a decent game today. I'm gonna say decent. Um, there was a couple of times where I felt like he should have just put his cleat to the ground, but then again the ground was wet. So so maybe that's why he couldn't put that cleat to the ground and just go. But for the most part, it wasn't like I saw something in their defense that was just like, oh man, we're not gonna be. Ole Miss was able to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I thought that they were effective with Lacey. I thought they schemed things well for Chambliss. Uh, I thought that he did a nice job in some downfield situations that he's got to be able to put the ball, on the money, and he was able to do that. I think there was a three drive swing for in the game, that we can get into later. That kind of, I think that's what kind of changed the game for Ole Miss. And I'm looking at these advanced stats, and it just looked like when you look at them, it just like Ole Miss was the better team. There's nothing that sticks out like the game. There was something crazy that happened that made the game shift or anything. It just looks like when you look at all the advanced metrics, it just looks like Ole Miss was the better team.
And the main thing that I felt like up until those couple of points, like there was some questionable decisions, like bringing Austin Simmons in, getting to the goal line, and you had called me because you had walked out for a second and and it shocked you so much, and bringing Simmons in, and he missed the pass that man, your son probably would have made. Like
Yeah,
it was. I mean, just a touch over the top. You got a touchdown right there. I saw that decision, the decision to go for it at your 25. I didn't like that, and then I think it dictated when we were 4th and 2 inside the 10. I think that made him go ahead and kick the field goal because if that, I feel like if that didn't happen at first, if he wouldn't have ran into that situation right there, then on that 4th and 2, the lane that we know would have went forward.
yeah, and I think that feel for the game kind of had a part in that. Just going back to the Simmons situation, uh, I thought that they obviously had been scheming some red zone things, and I think that they carried it on into this week. I don't know why he got three chances, but he did. And other than that, though, I thought, especially for the majority of the game, I thought and I know if you go back and look at Havoc plays on advanced stats, um, let's see, Oklahoma created 15 Havoc plays, 13 in the rushing game, two in the passing game. So you did a pretty good job of protecting Chambliss overall, especially when I think that team led the country in sacks.
Yes.
I thought it was
So he was only sacked once.
a well-rounded day. Yeah, they have one sack. They on 2% of that's 2% of Chambliss's dropbacks. He was sacked one time. And Ole Miss, they were able to get to the quarterback today, which they hadn't been able to do in a while.
It when you talk about night and day, it defensively, what we saw last week, um, not being able to get a stop, not being able to stop the run, and people are going to look at the Russian total today on Oklahoma, and what you got to factor in is that they had a 65-yard touchdown run.
Yeah,
Take that 65-yard run out of the equation, then Ole Miss hold Robinson to 40, 45 yards, 44 yards.
and their
And,
number one back would only ran for that's Xavier Robinson. He had
but that's what I'm
no,
saying.
no, no. Tory Blaylock's their number one rusher. He had 6 carries for 10 yards. I mean, you
So
take away one run, and it's a totally different day rushing.
yeah, and then on top of that, it's just I felt like that they did what was needed to be done. That was the number one thing that we pained over last week, not being able to get a stop, and to be able to get a stop in those conditions in a place. And I don't know if you watched the post game right before they was interviewing Lane, and he do stuff that these are the things we don't get to see. I'm that type of coach that if a player's talking, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to let him know. I remember when I was in Coffeyville, there was a kid that played at Mount Bayou JFK, and man, he talked, and we played them in the playoffs, and we was at the free throw line, and I said, "Hey, man, you ain't got much to say today." That's when he did that, a lot of people be like, "Oh man, you don't need." No, you don't. When the game going on, that type of stuff happens.
Yeah, the competitive spirit. It's just part of it. And he seems to be a master class, especially when he's on top of being able to dish out them one liners and
Yeah.
ringers.
Well, just looking at the stats, I'm looking at the box score today. Overall, man, just an amazing game. Trinidad Chambliss, he was 24-44. Now that was he threw the ball a lot today. That was I think they're finally, hey, let's take the training wheels off this kid and just let
They
him
ran
roll.
a ton of plays.
Yes, yes, I think it ended up being what 80. It ended up being 87 plays,
Yeah,
87
87 scrimmage plays
to now Oklahoma only got
at 60.
60. So that's a big discrepancy right there. If you can out uh, if you can outplay a team 20 or more plays, then you're putting yourself in a good position to be successful. But Chambliss was 24-44 for 315 yards. He had one touchdown, had a QBR of 90.9. Lacey, man, I've been begging for it. I've been begging
He
for the
got it
carry.
today.
He had 20. He was a workhorse today. He had 20. Now his average was still garbage, but I still believe the more you give him the ball, the better chance you're gonna have to win the ball game. He had 27 carries for 78 yards, two touchdowns. Chambliss had 12 carries for 53 yards. Man, could have loved that last week. Um, not for the game, but I would have loved that last week. But no touchdown. Let's see. We had Watkins had 4 catches for 111 yards. You had Wallace had 5 catches for 64 yards. Caden Lee had 3 catches for 60. Striblin had 3 catches for 32. Lacey had 2 catches for 17. Deuce Alexander had 3 catches for 12. Daquan Wright, and I think after Daquan Wright kind of went down, you could kind of tell that he wasn't his 100% self, and he was questionable coming into the
I
game
was gonna
anyway.
say he was questionable all week.
So you can tell in how he was moving tonight that he wasn't his full self. But Chambliss moved the ball around. I mean, great. I mean, you got one, two, three, four, five, six. You got six receivers that had 3 catches or more. That is distributing the ball like you need to distribute the ball.
Yeah, and I think they've done a better job. I've thought all year that they, or to really till the point of last week, Dejon Stribling's had a bigger role in the offense. And they're guys that we've said this multiple times. They have a receiving core that's plenty capable of making big plays if you can get it to them. Um, I think that you just you got to trust what they do, and
Yeah,
they start. Sorry, my computer froze for a second, but they do a good job. Um, when they're distributing it, they have plenty of playmakers. If you can get it in their hands, I'm looking at it when they were when passing, they had a 38% success rate, which percentage wise seems low, but it was how effective they were in certain situations, and they were. You go and look at on late downs, they were almost 50%. With the success rate.
the one play that really impressed me was the safety. The
Yeah,
safety. It was the penetration.
Will
Eccles,
Evers.
he set a new line of scrimmage. I
Yep.
mean, when he got his technique was flawless. He got underneath that lineman and he reset the offensive line, and that's something that we've been craving to see this year. One of the things that you have touched on this year is the fact that those players last year on the defensive line were so dominant and were so skilled, and we led the league in tackle for losses last year. So
Sacks, everything.
to see that was huge, and it was that play that kind of assured me that we're probably gonna win this ball game, because in that situation, that was when we blew the opportunity, and to do that, man, that was huge, and that was huge, and that was big, and all of the things that go with it.
Yeah. I know he doesn't get credit with the safety, but I thought him and Cam Franklin had a big day. I thought Will
Yeah,
Evers and Cam Franklin had a big day. That was one thing last year. I don't think that Ole Miss had the best backers in the SEC, but they were good backers. Don't get me wrong, but your defensive line kind of protected them. And I thought this year, for the most part, our run have been really good. We've just not been able to get guys on the ground. And then I thought that when you look at the season in totality, Ole Miss's defensive line is either getting pushed or getting pushed. There's never a stalemate. And I thought
Yeah.
for the most part today, they they did not get pushed around. I said on Thursday night that I thought Oklahoma was average on the offensive line, and I think that's what they were. I don't think they were anything but average. But credit to them for fitting the run well and getting guys on outside of one play. They didn't allow just a ton. Well, really two plays. There was a 76-yard touchdown pass, but you kind of limit some explosives and made them beat you, and they couldn't do it.
Well, just looking at the standing, looking at where now let's shift into what's next. And right now, just looking at the standings, Alabama is 5-0 in the conference. You got Texas A&M, who is down by 4 right now to LSU. They're 4-0 in the conference. Georgia have the tiebreaker over us. They're 4-1. And then it's us, and it's Vandy, it's Texas, it's LSU, it's Missouri, all of those teams. But the one-loss teams are, which we thought Texas would have been out of the mix today, but they managed to get through. But we'll talk about that
Broke my
later.
heart.
Gosh, man,
And I'm not even a state fan, and I was just like, man,
sitting up here trying to motivate a team that ain't even mine, and y'all sit there and let them, you let them come back and win the ball game. But that's a whole nother story. But looking at that, if Ole Miss wins out, they will be 7-1. Um, I don't. I have to go and research the tiebreaker situation. I think they go off of your rankings, and then
and then I know common opponent, like record versus common opponent, comes into play somewhere.
and by us, losing, we lost to 8 to Georgia. Um, like you said, Alabama's in the SEC championship. There will be nobody else that beats them.
I
So
don't
they
think so.
they will be okay. They will be okay. But looking at the rest of the SEC, and like I said, Georgia. When you look at Georgia, to look at Georgia's remaining schedule, Georgia has Florida next week. They go to Mississippi State. They play Texas at home, and those are the 3 SEC games. And I
Did they get
think,
Georgia Tech?
yeah, but I think as far as SEC now, if they go off a ranking, then we should be in. So we'll have to hope that they lose that game to Georgia Tech. But as far as SEC, it looked like they're going to win out, and they're going to be 7-1.
Yeah, I agree with you there in the conference. Yeah. I think
I,
they're
I
safe.
don't unless State, State kind of just. I don't know if State got it to. I think they used a lot of energy today,
Yeah, I
and
think
we'll get to that in a second.
yeah.
They used a lot of energy today, and usually when you do that and you don't get it, it takes it drives everything out of you, and then you just kind of lose.
There's only so many times you can get up off the mat. You know,
You got a chance to make a play, you got to make that play. Um, well, next week we have. Well, they got to be announced. That is next week, right? South Carolina.
yeah, and I believe if I'm not mistaken, it's a
This
flex game. It's not going to be an 11 a.m. game, but it could be a 3:30, 2:30 to 3:15 window, or the night window, 6:30, 6 to 6:45, depending on what they want to do with it. It's a flex game as far as
so you get South Carolina, you get the Citadel, you get Florida, then the bye.
yeah.
So you handle those 3 games. You keep yourself. First of all, you keep yourself. But me personally, now yes, it would be nice to play for SEC championship. We've never done it before. But if you're looking at the bigger picture, what's your thoughts on that?
I would tell Alabama and Texas A&M to go have fun. It's never, it would be different if we lived in a world where I thought the conference championship meant something. I think whoever plays in the conference championships in the playoff, regardless of if they lose or not. I don't think there's a world where they get punished. But it will affect your seeding, and that's an extra game you've got to play.
Yeah.
Where if you're Ole Miss and you say you ran the table and you went 11-1 and you missed the conference championship, your seating's pretty much locked. There's not going to be a bunch of movement there. That's one less game you got to play. That's and so to me, it the reason why I don't mind whether or not we play in it, like if you're not gonna get in there and obviously win it, it's never meant less than it means right
Yeah.
now. There's nothing,
But just to
winning it.
say,
Do you get your bye if you win it? Yeah, but
it's
it
almost
doesn't have
just
an
to say
effect
I
on you.
won the SEC championship.
That's
It
pretty
it
much
really
it.
there's no benefit to it anymore.
No, and it doesn't hold the. I think has it lost its charm now that divisions are gone? To me,
Yeah,
I think it's kind of
because
lost some
it,
charm.
it's almost like if you're playing in on a high school level, you got the North and the South. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you got the North and the South. That you want those two worlds to clash. And now, and even into this day and time, like I was saying on the other night of what the other coaches had to deal with. Alabama was constant. A&M was constant. Texas had became constant. These are teams that was in your division, in your division that you had to play, and you knew you was gonna if you make the SEC championship, you're gonna play one of those teams. Hello, Mary Alex. Thank you for joining us tonight, Mary Alex. I'm so glad that you're on here tonight. Make sure you hit that screen, Mary Alex. I'm so happy that you're here. I got to, I hope that cleared me, Mary Alex. It is. It's the best podcast. Tell somebody. You need to tell everybody that. Keep on hitting that screen and make sure everybody know that. But yeah, like you said, Coach, there is no because there's no the possibility. There nobody want. I don't want to go play no Alabama. If I play
No,
Alabama, let it be in the playoffs.
yeah. It's just another. It's another game that you have to play. That it would be a great accomplishment for Ole Miss because they haven't played in the conference championship game. But if if you think there's bigger fish to fry for your team, it's not a game that I'm concerned in going and playing.
Coach, this is what I'm looking at right now, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Alabama's 7-1. Texas A&M is 7-0. Georgia is 6-1. Ole Miss is 7-1. Vandy is 7-1. That's
I think
five
that,
teams.
and I think it's on the table for all five of them to be at worst win-loss teams at the end of the year. I really do.
The world will be pissed off if 5 SEC teams out of the 12 slots get into the playoffs, Coach.
And I'm going to tell you, I think that they could play this inclusion game with two-loss SEC teams. But if there's a bunch of one-loss teams, you can't leave them out. You cannot put an 11-1 SEC team's resume up with whoever does what in the ACC or the Big 12. Like those, I think that just turns those conferences into one big leagues. I think if it plays out, you're probably looking at your group,
Coach, it's
your
going to be a
Power
problem.
Four champion, your Power Four champion. So that's four. So that leaves 8 spots left. You have to automatically give one, which is stupid. We need to have a conversation on how stupid it is that we reward a group of 5 teams a chance to play with the big boys, knowing that they're going to lose, but we do it. So you're going to so that's 5 spots. So now you're looking at 7 spots. If you give 5 of them or 4 of them to the SEC, that means you're only getting 3 Big 10 teams in. And honestly, I think that plays out about right. You got Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State.
But
So I think
here's the problem, Coach. Let's say Miami and Georgia Tech play in the ACC championship, and Miami win. That's a one-loss Miami team and a one-loss Georgia Tech.
and
If
that's
Georgia,
where the inclusion thing comes in. But to me, the ACC is not good enough to be more than a one bid league. Like I I'm sorry. Now I do
mm,
think those are two. Like who else outside of? I mean, I guess Louisville's on a heater.
Oregon,
That's Big
Indiana,
10.
and Ohio State will be
That
in. They can
yeah.
if they stay on the path
Well,
we're
that's
on.
Big 10.
All
We're
right, there you
talking.
go. All right, I was looking at that. That's 3.
Okay.
Um, when you look at Vandy, and we looked at Vandy's schedule a few weeks ago. Vandy got Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee. That's you know those two teams. I think those two games at home. I think Vandy beats Auburn. I think Vandy beats Kentucky. I seriously think Vandy goes to Tennessee and beats Tennessee.
Yeah, I think Vandy's legitimate.
If that happens, then Vandy finished the season. What is that? 11, 10 and 1, 11 and 1.
That's 11-1.
Ole Miss wins out, wins the Egg Bowl. They're 11 and 1. Alabama runs the table. They're 11 and 1. What if Alabama loses the SEC championship? Do we put a 11? Do we put a 10 and 2 or an 11 and 2 Alabama team in then?
I think you have to because you
Ooh.
said last year, the committee said last year that conference championship games will have no effect on the playoff rankings, that you're not getting punished for it. You can't go back on it. You publicly stated that it has no bearing. I don't think you can go back on it. I think it is a terrible look if you go
My
back on it.
question in that was, why are we playing them then? The SEC need to quit because that's an unnecessary
It's
tax on
months.
a body. That's a week of practice and another game where you could be preparing for the playoffs.
I mean, that's true, but the ABC is paying so much money for it. They're going to play that game.
So when I say that if that happened, it's going to be some pissed off folks because if that happens, Alabama will be 11 and 2, and they could possibly be the only two-loss team in the playoffs.
What are the odds, though? Do you think the odds are great that everything goes scratch? That right now there's no like we don't have another. I guess if you really look at last week, it was pretty crazy. I think you had top 25 teams go down. Do you think that was the end of the craziness, or do you think there's more chaos to come?
I think in those final games, I think some things could happen because most of those games are rival games. I look all right. Let me look at Oregon, and we'll touch their schedule. Um, they got Washington the last game at Washington. That's not Washington ain't great, but they're not bad either.
No, they're
You look
serviceable.
at Miami. Miami got Pitt at Pittsburgh. Once again, they're not great, but they are a decent team. Um, A&M, if they survive tonight, they got Texas at Texas, and Texas doesn't show that they'll show up for the big game. They
Yeah,
showed that in the Red River rivalry. They'll show up for the big game, and if they got an opportunity to spoil A&M chances, then they will. I'm just looking at the top right now. Indiana, I don't think they're going to run into no more resistance. Well, they won't because they have Purdue. Um, they got Penn State, and I did say Penn State still have Penn State talent. So we don't know what's going to happen. That game is still Penn State talent.
they're
I mean,
good, coach. I don't think they're losing. They're
yeah,
good.
Indiana. So,
Yeah,
but it is
Indiana's
at Penn
good.
State though. I mean, Whiteout Central, man. They might come pumped, ready to roll that night. Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has uh, got Georgia. So I think the Georgia and Georgia Tech game could possibly be an elimination game. Because I don't. All right, Georgia Tech would have to win the ACC if they lost that game to Georgia.
Yeah, I
They
agree
can't
with that.
get in. They can't get in, even though the conference champion don't hurt you. Like you said, the ACC is so weak, you cannot put them over anybody else. And if
Yeah.
they lose to Georgia and lose the ACC championship, I think they're out.
But if Georgia loses to Georgia Tech, I think it's almost
Georgia,
disqualifying.
Georgia's out. I
Yeah.
think they should be out. I don't know if the voters are going that route. I don't know if the SEC, you know how it is, the SEC aura. But if Georgia lose that game, because when you look at, all right, let me pull that up. When you look at Georgia's schedule, all right, Georgia got one loss on the season to Alabama 24-21. Um, They still got to deal with Texas too, but they get them at home. But if Georgia lose to Georgia Tech, with the way things are going now, 2 losses is not going to get you in
Yeah, I think I just think that there's so
unless
many
you lose the
one.
championship.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's so many one-loss teams that I'm almost to the point where 10-2 could be disqualified. Like
Because we
I've
were
said it for weeks
anticipating,
that 10-2 would get you in, and now I don't think so.
but I think because we thought there was going to be more 10-2 teams than we thought it was going to be 11-1, and now it's starting to look like when you look at the schedule that there's a possibility that you can have a buttload of 11-1 teams.
And I think for the SEC, that's why it was so imperative to get to that 9 game.
Because
Or I don't know
we
if
got to
the
expand
SEC
playoffs.
wanted it, but I think the NCAA or the college football playoff committee is so happy, got to be happy that you're getting a 9 game conference
You
because
got you
that's
got to
going
expand
straight.
playoffs. You got to expand playoffs
Oh
because
yeah, well
you
I'm gonna
about
tell
to
you
see
right now,
5 teams that's 10-2 that won't make playoffs.
and I think that if you get to a situation where uh, these teams get left out, whether it's Big Ten or SEC, those two conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten is funding this thing. That's where your money's coming from. Those conferences are winning your ratings battle every week. They're carrying this thing. If you get to a point where they're getting left out, um, you're expanding it, or either that, or if you decide not to, the SEC and the Big Ten will take their ball and go home and have their own thing. I think that's what I think in the next 10 years that's what it's coming to anyway.
You
I
have
think
to.
they're so you
You
may
have
just
to.
this season right here may be pushing you towards that quicker than you think.
This could be a logjam on epic proportion, man, because this is crazy that this could happen. And and it's almost like crap. We finally, we on that track to have that type of season. And you look around and everybody else is having it too. It's
Yeah,
like you can't enjoy it. It's like, man, they just gave you something, but when you look around, everybody got the same boat that you got.
there's a ton of parity, but it's led to at the same time that you're getting that parity within the middle of the conferences and stuff. The top end of it's still just as top heavy as it's ever been.
Well, coach, as you can see, I mean, Ole Miss now controls. Once again, we're back in the situation we were in last year. You win out, you're in the playoffs. If they win out, Ole Miss go 11-1. What is their seed?
Uh, and they don't make the SEC championship. They're 11-1. They're probably a 7, 6 or a 7, 6, 7.
Is there a path? Because there are some people that's above us right now that's not in the SEC. Is there a path of Ole Miss getting into that top 4 without getting into the SEC championship?
No, I think because your Big Ten, Ohio State or Indiana, your Big Ten champion is the 1 seed, probably.
This is what I don't like about that.
Your SEC champion's the 2. If Georgia Tech was to run the table, go undefeated, win the ACC, they're probably the 3. I don't know about the Big 12. I think could you paint a picture where Ole Miss could get the 4? I don't think so. I think if they don't play in Atlanta, there's no chance. If they do play if they play in Atlanta and lose, I think their best chance is 5. I don't think there's a chance that they get um, the 4 seed, or one of the buys.
I think if they went out, they'll probably be a 5th seed. I think they're going to be very close. If they went out, I feel like they will be very close to that 4 seed.
I think it all depends. And I agree with you, but I think it all depends on what how those championship games go down. Because I think either the loser of the Big Ten championship's the 5, or the loser of the SEC championship's the 5.
And
Now, if
that's it.
is Ole Miss one of them,
And that's
possibly.
what I don't like about that, because the loser of the game can't be punished, but we want to put the loser of the game in a that they shouldn't be rewarded either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but they've just not. It's just an extra game that you're going to play that you weren't punishing them for anyway. So if you get there, does that is that where you saw those teams to begin with? You know what I'm saying? Like probably the the number two team in the SEC was fifth ranked in the country anyway, so it just went scratch. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And then if that number five team won, you just flip flop them. You know, I think that's kind of how I look.
Well,
But you,
it looked like it's just going. It's a mess forming right now,
but I
and
think if you're Ole Miss, I wouldn't even worry about where you're seated. This would be just the biggest. This would probably be outside of winning national championships pre-integration. This is the biggest accomplishment the football program would have ever had just to make the playoff. And I just went and looked at it because the last time Ole Miss was in control of their own destiny, I was going to say, is this the first time? When was the last time Ole Miss headed into November in control of their fate? And I just went back. We won't discuss the 2015 Arkansas game, but that game was in November, so we'll leave it there. But Ole Miss is
what was it,
they
429?
that yep they have entered November or will enter November in control of their fate. And I think if you would have told Ole Miss fans that preseason, because I if you go back to preseason, I thought Ole Miss would be 5-2 at this point. We didn't know about LSU, and I had Georgia marked down for a loss. So the fact that you're a one-loss team, 7-1, in control of your destiny, I think you got to take it and just be happy that you've got the chance to accomplish the biggest thing in this program's history outside of a run in the late 50s and 60s.
Coach, I got to give a shout out. Mary Harris said, "Give us a shout out." Her and
Shout
Grace.
out.
So, shout out to Grace and Mary for joining us tonight. I hope y'all sharing this live, and that the other people are getting the opportunity to shout us out. So we want to give a shout out to Mary and Grace. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. So, Coach, let's dive into the rest of the SEC today. Right now, Texas A&M is down to LSU 14-18. They just got back started they just opened up in the second half. At halftime, Tennessee 35, Kentucky 21. Alabama, I thought South Carolina would have, kind of pull an upset, but they couldn't get it done. But
Had me
Alabama,
sweating.
yeah, they end up winning it 29-22. You got Missouri losing to Vanderbilt. We called it. You called it. Coach, I'm with you now. Um, I'm with you 100%. Vanderbilt is legit. Glad they're not on our schedule. Ain't got time to fool with that this year. We're
Could
trying
you
to do something
imagine?
else. Don't
Could
have
you
time.
imagine a world where you said, "Hey, I'm glad we don't play Vanderbilt this
Exactly. This is a world. Coach, I don't want to deal with that this year. That's one of the things. We'll do that. We'll do that another time, but not this year because that will be something that'll mess everything up, and I ain't got time for that this year. But Coach, let's get into the Texas and Mississippi State game.
year?" Okay.
Coach, I thought when as I was watching, and my service was horrible. My service was horrible, man. I don't know what happened. I think what I did today, I burnt all of my data out using my phone as a hotspot so I could watch the Ole Miss game. And I think and this is the end of the month where my the new service kick in. So I think that's what happened to me is that I burnt all my data out. But coach, Mississippi State completely controlled this game until the end.
Yeah, it was looking like it was all Mississippi State there. They were up 38-14, and Texas goes on to score
38-14.
24 fourth quarter points. And then you look at, as bad as that sounds for the defense, for all the hate that I answer to on Blake Shapen, the man goes 26-42, 381, and 4 touchdowns. Like, I'm tired of, why is this not Mario Taylor's team yet? Why is this? I hear it all the time, and I'm like, well, there's your stat line. The
He
man
almost dropped
should have
400
upset the Texas
against a
Longhorns
good
today.
Texas defense. A good
Yeah,
Texas
yeah.
defense.
Texas, as bad as they are offensively, at times, certainly. They are good defensively, and I thought offensively they did more than enough.
This team scares me, Coach.
Oh, they should.
That Egg Bowl now, as we already talked about the 2 losses, the Egg Bowl could be an elimination game.
They, I absolutely, especially if the picture we talked about for the previous 20 minutes plays plays out, you can't you can't lose the Egg Bowl.
You
And
cannot lose
there
the Egg Bowl.
and you can say what you want to about me. I mean, I'm an Ole Miss guy. But you can say what you want about Mississippi State. They're 0-4. They ain't won an SEC game. What is that now? Is that 12 straight SEC losses
Yeah, damn it.
in the Jeff Levy era? I don't know
Especially,
how many it is going back before then. Um, but I'm gonna tell you one thing: there are a well coached group that plays extremely hard, and the Egg Bowl's weird. It's a weird game. Year in and year out,
always been.
it is weird. And
The
you know,
wind might be up 50, 60 miles per hour. It might be a
yeah,
pregame fight. You never know what
you
might
never
happen.
know. And we've said that, we said earlier, how many times it's tough, especially in these situations where, the kids had to have believed that game was won. If I'm
Yeah.
up 38-14 in the fourth quarter, it's in your mind that you've won the game and you don't. How many times can you get back up off the mat because they've mats because they've been in these situations and they've just not been able to get over the hump? Well, I can tell you one thing: they'll get off the mat to win the Egg Bowl because
Will
I think that's a game that they believe they can win.
will be freaking fired up. When you look at Mississippi State this year, um, they lost in overtime to Tennessee. Um, I think for the most part, the A&M game they were okay, but then just kind of ran out of gas at the end. They lost to Florida 23-21, and they just lost to Texas 45-38. I mean, that's not a team that's a pushover. Now they do have a gauntlet of games that's coming up that you hope that it'll knock some of their energy out when you're dealing with Arkansas, get Georgia at home, and you get Missouri on the road. But man, that game is scarier now because of the situation that we're in than it would be if we wasn't in this current situation.
Yeah, but I do think that if, say, things don't go scratch and teams start losing, um, and 10-2's on the table for a majority of teams outside of probably Alabama and A&M. I do think that your win today was absolutely massive
It was huge.
moving
It was huge.
moving forward. So now you have room for error, but you don't want to. The way the schedule sets up, you're going to play the rest of your games in the state of Mississippi
Yeah,
against inferior, and you're going to be a favorite in every one of them. There's
double
no,
digit,
you're not
double digit.
upsetting. Yeah, you're not upsetting anybody. You're supposed to win these games. And that's what kind of scares me about Egg Bowl. It's always been a game that the favorite, and then I know going back to before Lane Kiffin, and it has happened in the Lane Kiffin era, but the home team in that game's always had such an advantage, and you're going to their house.
Coach, Ole Miss went out. What is what do you think Egg Bowl line would be?
It's in Starkville, so I'd say probably Ole Miss minus 10.5,
I would dare to go 12 and a half.
12.5.
I feel like it's going to be, and that right there is going to be, man.
I don't think
Thanksgiving.
they covered.
Oh,
They've not played what's the best Egg Bowl they've played in the Lane Kiffin era? Like, it's always seemed like it's just been a game that they've had to get through. They've
every
never,
game they have not been a blowout.
no, there's not been a game that, shoot, was in doubt. I, I what probably till what 4 or 5 minutes left to go in the game, you pulled
Yeah.
away and did it. So I think that
Oh, man.
12 and a half is a lot of points in that game.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be double digits, and at that point, you go, you take the points. But like I said, State today had a golden opportunity to
hopefully get one.
You can't say upset because Texas is not a very, to me, Texas is not a very good team. And I was ready for them to get bumped out of the, um, bumped out of the top 25, but look like they'll move up at least 2 slots this week. But um, they had an opportunity and did not. And those are the games that hurt, man. Those are the games that take
Absolutely.
it. It takes everything out of you. And when you get to those situations, you just, I don't know. I hate it for them. I wanted them to win tonight because I wanted them to beat Texas. My nephew loves Texas. I get so tired of his hook 'em horn and all of that crap. So anytime they lose, it is such refreshing to me to see Texas lose because I just love it. Hugh Freeze, what was it in Waterboy? He said, "You live to fight another day."
Yeah.
Seemed like Hugh Freeze lived to fight another day.
Yeah, I think he might have extended his contract by 7 days. I I've that's the one that was my lock of the week in the SEC, and I really thought Arkansas, if they, I didn't see Auburn being able to score 30 points. Even though Arkansas is terrible on defense, I would say Auburn's been equally as bad offensively. But they got there. They got them a win.
So do you think Arkansas is just gonna find them another coach and saying, "Hey, we got to wash our hands with this"?
Yeah, I think I don't know, man. That fan base absolutely loves some Petrino, but
But you know what?
I don't know how do you hire a guy that is probably not winning. Let's look at their schedule, but he's your interim coach and he doesn't even win a game as your interim.
And not
How do
only
you
that,
how do you hire him?
what they are in love with was the guy that can go sit in somebody's living room and convince a kid to come and play for him. Like we talked about the other day, that's not the case anymore. Kids want money. Parent Parents want money. So unless you got money, just because you Bobby, who cares? What can you pay me? So what they're in love with is no longer in effect right now. And if
But
they don't let that go, and if they push for this what they're seeing right now is going to continue.
but the way that they absolutely love him, you get places like JB Hunt, Tyson, Walmart to donate the money that, because that's the thing. Sam Pittman, as much business is booming in that area of Northwest Arkansas, they never gave Sam Pittman the resources. I believe they would absolutely get behind Petrino and give him the money needed. I just I don't see how you give him the job because it doesn't get any easier. State next week, LSU, Texas, Missouri. That's your that's your next 4 games. That's a tough schedule. But
I think if he would have won some games, I think that would spark. I would hope that a fan base is not so enamored with a coach when he took over, he couldn't get a win.
and I mean he's been right there. He lost 34-31 to Tennessee in his first game as the interim head coach. He lost 45-42 to Texas A&M. That's the number 4 and number 12 team in the country. And then they, he lost 33-24. But I don't think it gets easier for him. I think this is a 2-10, potentially a 2-10 football team, or a 3-9 if they can get by Mississippi State. But I said it Thursday night, and I'm gonna say it again. Mississippi State is gonna get somebody at some point, and
It ain't us.
it
That's why
doesn't need to be Ole Miss. So
this is why I wanted them to win today, to go ahead and get your lock-in win. This is our rally win. This is for you, Coach Levy. Man, thank you. If they go into that Egg Bowl 0-6 and now you're playing your head coach, former team, then they're gonna have an energy of a team that's undefeated that night because look at the parody of it. My head coach was your offensive coordinator. This could be our first SEC win, and we can stop you from making the playoffs.
Yeah. And like Luke Thompson said, it's a culture that don't know how to win, and I agree with that. You know, they're right there on the cusp of it, and they don't know how to put it away. It seems like.
I think what happened, they jumped the gun. They were so, I guess, emotionally after Mike Leach passed away, they panicked and didn't do their due diligence in trying to get the right coach to replace him. And they just ran into it and got a coach that didn't fit. And they put themselves in this situation right now. Now, granted, they weren't nobody was prepared for that. Like
No.
that shocked all of us. But even at that time, it would have been better to just keep somebody in an interim stage and you do your due process in trying to find the coach that fits what is there. And I think they jumped the gun and set themselves back by moving so quickly.
And you know, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what this program looks like in headed forward because they clearly put a lot of eggs in the baseball basket with this hire that they did with the resources that they gave to baseball. Now, granted, the fan base wanted that, so credit to the athletic department for doing that. But I would say you could almost say that football is like the third most funded program right now behind baseball and basketball. I mean, there's a case to be made, and you see that Levy has done what he's done. Um, I like Jeff Levy. I think that if he wanted to stick his name out there for some jobs, he would definitely get a phone call. Um, I think that if they'll be patient with it, if he decides to stay and they're patient with him with this rev share now that can cancel out the losses of putting your eggs in the basket of baseball, they could turn this thing around.
I'm with you, Luke. We just talked about the games that they should have won. You know, the Tennessee game. I think A&M. Like I said, I felt like they just kind of ran out of gas. And then the Florida game. Those are I know two games that they. And then you when you add the Texas game today, you look at when you look at that situation. That those are three games.
Well, they
Where,
butchered Levy for the the Florida game for calling that play call.
yeah,
You know, it was a simulated pressure. I think he wanted to guarantee better field goal position and didn't have a timeout, so you're obviously throwing it. And the guy just so happened to drop in pass coverage right in front of a slant. You know, I think it's just part of getting the program back to where it's got to be.
you know
You
what's
know,
crazy about
that's a
that,
tough
coach?
loss, but that was it's a heck of a defensive play call in that situation.
You know what's so crazy about that though, coach? Is that when you look at those three games, how close State is to being 7-1.
Yeah, the Tennessee game.
That is insane. That a 4-4 team could very well be 7-1.
I think they were losing to A&M, but they could have beat Tennessee. They could have
Yep,
won. They could have beat Florida,
should have
and
won.
they could have won tonight.
Definitely should have won tonight.
And
And
that and
we'll have a different conversation.
we're
And you
having a
know what?
completely
I
different
and
conversation.
I would be more comfortable going into the Egg Bowl in that scenario than I am right now.
Yeah, because when you look at consequential egg bowls, um, I think of 2014, Mississippi State plays in the SEC championship. If Ole Miss doesn't beat them at home, and Ole Miss got it done, you think of the Kiffin 2022 Egg Bowl. You know, which that team that there was nothing riding on that game, but that was a chance for Ole Miss to have a what fourth 9-win season in 5 years of Kiffin. They ended that. There's always anytime there's been some consequence on it, the team that has no consequence is usually the one that wins.
Oh,
So
they will be betting with house money. That mean I'm gonna take more chances because it wasn't mine anyway.
yeah,
Well, Coach, let's look at the rest of the top 25. And we got Wisconsin is getting drugged right now. Not bad, but they're getting
They
drugged
finally blow
21 to
that game
0.
open.
Was that?
I said they is Oregon finally blowing that game open.
Well, it's 21 to 0, but I think eventually they're going to go ahead and get to where they need to get to. Miami is blowing out Stanford, and I think your theory on that cross country traveling is is making this it's a problem. It's a problem. They're beating Stanford 42 to 7. You got Louisville in the third quarter up 28 to 17 over Boston College.
I need another score there, and that would be my ACC and my Big 12 lock of the week would be solid.
You got Michigan 17 to 7 over Michigan State in the third quarter. Houston is blanking Arizona State 17 to 0 with 8:14 to go in the third quarter. That Miami game just went final. Miami beat Stanford 42 to 7. You got Indiana beating the bringing UCLA back to their bringing them back down to reality, beating them 56 to 6. You got Georgia Tech beating Syracuse 41 to 16. BYU beats Iowa State 41 to 27. Texas Tech beat Oklahoma State 42 to 0. Virginia beats North Carolina in overtime 17 to 16. Man, Bill Belichick, go home. Go home, man. Go home. It's just one of them things. You know when you see somebody old and they at the club and you like, why are you go home? Go home to your wife. Go home. You know, you see them out. You know how you see somebody in the streets like, why are you out? Why are you on the square tonight, man?
Yeah,
Man, go home. Bill Belichick, go home.
I think he will. I think his
Go
attitude will be
home, man.
good.
Cause it's painful to watch. You don't fit there. You don't go home. Bill. Somebody call Bill, call his little girlfriend. Y'all go home. Go home. Get out of the limelight so nobody can't criticize your relationship. Go home. Go home. Sit back. You ain't got. I mean, you start to get a little personality. Go get on TV. Be an analyst.
Yeah.
They'll hire you. Just add some stuff to your voice a little bit. If you need a little help, call us. We'll help you trying to get you going and trying to get. But go get out
Is
of coach.
he
Stop.
is he proof that John Gruden won't get a chance on the college level?
I think I think he's an anomaly. Bill Belichick is so different. I never thought his style matches college.
Yeah.
I feel like he's an anomaly. I don't think John is that far. I hope he's not. I don't think he's that far away, that untouchable with the kids today and with NIL and everything. You know, it's similar to running a pro program, and you need more of those coaches that has that background. But Bill Belichick, man, you was he looked uncomfortable the last years at New England. So
Yeah.
you don't have Tom Brady, okay? Just go home. What's this? I want to go home. Go home. Go home. You can go home, man. Your home is still there. The Five Heartbeats said that the heart is a house of love. Go home. I'm tired of looking at it and then you're gonna always be on TV. They're not laughing with you. They're laughing at you, Bill. Go home, man. You know you old when they call you Bill. It's not Coach Belichick no more. It's Bill. Go home, Bill.
Yeah.
It's like an old drunk. Go home. Go drink at the house. Memphis beats South Florida. 7-1 Memphis. Are we back in the conversation?
I think so. I think this the group of six, group of five, whatever you want to call them. I think that race for that one playoff spot's about to get really interesting because I think it's an American team getting in. So it's which one? I don't think it's coming from anywhere else except the American.
I think South Florida falls out of the top 25. Memphis gets back in, and at this point, looking at Memphis' schedule, they have Rice, Tulane, East Carolina, and Navy.
So Tulane could possibly be back in the hunt.
It's
and
at Memphis,
Navy's in the hunt. So
and both games are at Memphis. So they have an opportunity to get back into at least the conversation. And if you can get in the conversation, then they can talk about you. You got Cincinnati beating Baylor 41-20, and you have Washington beating Illinois. I think that was I picked Washington on it. They beat Illinois 42-25, and that wraps up the top 25. It's going to be interesting because I think this week is we'll start getting the playoff rankings. Is it week 7 or week 8? Usually around this time we start getting those playoff rankings, and it's going to be interesting to see how far do Ole Miss move up after this win with limited movement in the top
mm,
25, because it look like Texas A&M is about to beat LSU. It's 28-18 now.
they're probably
Nobody
either.
lost in the top. In it, there's no. I don't think there's any movement
Yeah, I
unless
don't.
it's a team that was on a bye, and
And I
definitely
don't think you're not punishing Alabama for playing a close game with South Carolina.
because it was at
You're
South
not
Carolina.
gonna
You got to factor in on the road in the SEC.
yeah, and you're not jumping Georgia Tech. I don't think you're jumping Georgia. I think you're 8 tomorrow. You're probably still number 8. The
Right.
first college playoff poll comes out. Well, I thought I had it.
Well, the current top 25, the top Ole Miss is 8, Georgia Tech 7. They're not gonna jump Georgia Tech. Oregon,
Tuesday, November 4th is the
okay,
first
but it's
college
next week,
playoff.
the
Yeah.
following week. So you got Georgia. They're not gonna. I think the top 8, top 9. I think the top 10 remains the same. If anything, Vandy might jump Miami. I can see them being 9 and Miami dropping to 10.
But they won by 35. I just I don't know.
They won by 35, but Vandy beat a top 25 team in Missouri.
True.
So I feel like I'm afraid that Vandy jumps. No, they can't jump us because we beat a top 25 team on the road. Vandy was at home. I think the only movement we'll get in that top 10, and I'll be looking. I can't. I wait for your show tomorrow night, and I'll be on TikTok putting my questions in. But I feel like Vandy will jump Miami, and I think the top 8 will stay the same. And I think Vandy will be number 9, and I think Miami will be number 10.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean,
Oklahoma will probably drop. I think do LSU lose tonight, or are they out of the top 25? They're number
20
20
right now. They're probably coming in at 25 next week. At
coming in
if
at 20.
they're not at
You
25,
don't
they're
think
probably
Memphis
at
get back into the top 25
Nah, they're gonna punish.
at 7-1?
It's a it's an
You just
American
beat number 18 South Florida.
it's an American team. I think they're going to. They're probably gonna. They've got time to make. Like you don't have to throw them in there right now because one of those teams is getting into the playoffs, and the rest of it doesn't matter. So you could probably play with the rankings for another week before you have to start really jostling things to really make sense. I could see them leaving LSU around just kind of like how you talk about Notre Dame. I could see them leaving LSU around to promote another big game next.
I see.
If you rank Memphis, you're not. No one's selling headlines about Memphis number 25 Memphis versus Sisters of the Poor, the American. You can sell number 25 LSU versus probably a ranked opponent next week if they're not off. I'll see who they play next week. They play Alabama next week. So yeah, you at Alabama, like you know,
Well, I think Oklahoma don't drop. I think Oklahoma would drop further than Missouri because Missouri is on the road. Oklahoma was at home. I feel like Missouri will be ranked higher than Oklahoma, but I could see them one at 21 and the other one at 23.
yeah,
I think they fall out of the
I can
top
see
20.
that.
I
Yeah,
think they fall out of the top 20, but I think Missouri. I think they. To me, I think they should stay ahead of OU because of what happened in that situation. Well, Coach, man, I know I'll be looking forward to Coach Benji. Make sure you follow Coach Benji on TikTok. His top 25 show. What time do your top 25 show come on, Coach?
Well, I'll post tomorrow on TikTok for an official time, but I'm thinking somewhere probably around 7:30, 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
So you definitely don't want to miss that show. We do want to recap high school, and and then after that we'll wrap up the show tonight. I will start my Sunday NBA recap week. I'll do that on TikTok live tomorrow as well as trying to now, for those that be waiting on Sunday Night Football, I'm not doing it this week because, man, that's staying up, trying to watch the staying up and then making sure I got enough energy to talk to you after I stay up. No, we'll just have to talk about it another day. But just looking at high school last night, we unfortunately, Bruce, we lost last night. But before we get into high school, a big shout out to Coach Gracie Barnes and the Bruce Trojan Band, the Golden Band from Trojan Land. Well, they went to Brandon, Mississippi this morning, and the Trojan Band finished number 2 in the state in 2A in band evaluations today. Basically, they were the state runner up in 2A for the first time in Bruce history. Bruce Band and it was close when they read out the scores. Um, just to hear, she was very worried about East Webster jumping her and all of the other bands that had more members. We were down there. They had a solid show. To transition. I think they did get first place in one of the categories, and they was top 3 in a couple of more categories. But overall, band, the Bruce Trojan Band, the Golden Band from Trojan Land, finished second in 2A. The biggest finish in Bruce history. So big congratulations not only to Coach Barnes but her staff, all of the band members. They work their butt off, Coach. I watch them. I even told her the other day that I stopped outside just on this week just to hear them rehearse, and you hear a difference. Like and she really puts the effort in. And I love the fact that the school rallies behind her. Other coaches, we make sure that, we're a small school, so you share players, you share athletes, and all of the coaches, we have all been working together to make sure that she could be successful. And that is a huge accomplishment to finish state runner up. And so we're looking forward to now. I hope that now the band is finna grow and everybody finna go to band now, and they ain't gonna want to play basketball and football no more. Oh man, so but we definitely want to congratulate her on today. But on last night, in 2A in the state of Mississippi in 2A, you had Velma Jackson getting blanked by East Webster. Did not see that coming. Baldwin beats Hamilton 38-28. Baldwin wins the division, and those two teams is very important to us. We'll let you know in just a second. Belmont beat East Union 38-26. Water Valley clinches division by beating Strayhorn 42-28. That game was a lot closer than the score because in the fourth quarter, Strayhorn actually had a lead of 28-27, and Water Valley came back and won those. Got that, got the win. They got the W. Charleston beat Northside, undefeated Northside. Charleston beat Northside 48-28, which puts Charleston basically going to win that division. Philadelphia come back to beat UPOR 26-20. UPOR find themselves in a similar situation that we're in right now. Jay-Z George beat MS Palmer 8-6. You have, and those are the North team. And on last night, we dropped a tough one to Myrtle, 36-20. And now it paints the picture for next week to be you have to win by points to get in. Right now, we're sitting at 0-3 in the division. Myrtle is 1-2, and I went brain dead just that quick. East Union is 1-2. Now the scenario now is we would have to beat we would have to beat Strayhorn by 5 points to get in as a fourth seed. With That'll put us in a three-way tie, and at that point, you have to look at the point situation between all three teams. If we beat Strayhorn by 5, we go into the playoff as a fourth seed, and we would have to travel to Baldwin. If we beat Strayhorn by 9 points, we would go into the playoff as a third seed, and we would have to travel to Hamilton. But either way, we would have to travel. We That opportunity came from us on last night. Um, like I said, we had control. We controlled our own destiny, and we weren't able to uh, get it done last night. In 1A, um, on last night, you got Taylorsville, which I almost forgot about Taylorsville, but they beat Richton 38-12. Biggersville beat Smithville 62-13.
Mhm.
Potts Camp beat Ashland 38-6. Nanawaya beat Ethel 40-6. West Tallahatchie beats French Camp 16-7, which that is gearing up for the Trash Bowl, where who's going to get fourth and who's going to get third between French Camp. Basically, who get to go to Cowan City, and that's what the French Camp and Coffeyville game will determine. Noxapater beat McAdams 46-0. Cowan City went across the all of the potato fields and left nothing but dirt and grains. They beat Vardaman 54-0. You got South Delta beating West Bolivar 46-26. Um, LaFleur County beats Coffeyville 52-0. And we don't have a score for Okolona and West Lowndes. So the 1A is starting to shape out, and just want to take a quick look in the in our area of the games that went on last night, just to give you some scores. Tupelo beat Horn Lake 38-12. Senatobia beats Aberdeen 41-6. New Hope shuts out Pontotoc 20-0. North Pontotoc beat South Pontotoc 63-22. You got Lafayette beating Columbus 27-14. Starkville beating Jackson Murrah 55-14. Let's see, you got Winona beating Choctaw County. And Breesy said you just don't know which Winona team you're going to get. But B-Jack, congratulations, my guy. Winona beats Choctaw County 24-21. You got South Panola upsetting Grenada 48-41. That was huge. You have, let's see, Warren Central beats Neshoba Central 42-13. You got Corinth beating Amory 41-17. And get us one more score in here. You have Lake Cormorant upsetting Saltillo 41-7. So that was next week. Will pretty much most I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5A will wrap up their regular season on next week. I do believe 6 and 7A have one more week of regular season football. I'm going to do my best this week to get brackets together so we can look at these brackets and to see where teams are going to be at, especially 2A and 1A, knowing that we have teams in our area that will be competing, hopefully, in the playoffs. So a great football day today, man. And Coach, I'm looking forward to the top 25 show tomorrow, man, because your intake is, like I say, is top notch. And if anybody, make sure that you share it with somebody, tell somebody that Coach will be on tomorrow. be checking TikTok. I will come on around 9 o'clock tomorrow. NBA, the week in the NBA, and some NFL recap. Coach, anything else that we need to talk about tonight?
I think we said it all. We'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow. Like you said, there's always something happening. So when it happens, we'll be there.
Yeah, be prepared. If something happened major, then I'm going to call Coach. He's going to call me, and we're going to get on and we're going to talk to you. Well, for Coach Benji, I'm Coach Marks. This is the Coach and Coach Podcast. Make sure that you go to Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to the Coach and Coach Podcast. Hit that notification button. Make sure that you set it. And anytime there's a new episode, make sure that you're on with us. Until we see you the next time, we on the Coach and Coach Podcast. See you when you see you. See you when we see you. Something like that. We'll see you.